Area BC. I'm just curious, aside from Isu, any other Victorians in the room here? Oh, all right. Very good. Very good. Of course, we're basically right next door. Like we're another neighborhood of Vancouver. Victoria is such a lovely place. My job today is to give you an overview of what's happening in Victoria, along with some investment opportunities, just what's happening in the world of investment, and perhaps giving you some insight as to things that integrated equities can come up with maybe at a later date in terms of properties and everything here. So, let's talk about what's happening in Victoria. A little bit about myself first, though. If you want a snapshot, happy to chat with anyone about investment needs in Greater Victoria. As Taylor said, I own Remax Island Properties in Victoria and Duncan. I have been licensed for 33 years, which means I started when I was 6, right? So I've helped a lot of people, with their real estate needs over the years. I have a QR code at the end of this as well, too, that I will share with you as well. Okay, so some stats about Victoria. Population around 420,000 right now. I was chatting with Isu about the fact that I remember when I started real estate, the population was 200,000. And like any other growing town, when we all complain about what's happening with traffic patterns and getting around town, and oh my goodness, I've got to wait 15 minutes to get to Saanich, right? It's because the town is growing. And it continues to grow. We have a net migration of around 4,000 to 5,000 in Victoria. The thing about Victoria is people choose to be there. My new friend Isu, we were chatting a little bit earlier. You came from Winnipeg, right? Was it a big stretch to come to Victoria? Price-wise, for sure, because you had some sticker shock. Your average price in Winnipeg, 400,000. Victoria is closer to 1.3 right now. But as far as lifestyle and moving, most everyone in Victoria has come from somewhere else. I was born and raised in Victoria. Usually when I'm speaking to a room like this, very few people born and raised never left, because everyone has ended up in Victoria for a few reasons, and I'll explain them in just a moment here. Average house price presently, so in the month of September, detached single-family home, 1.22 thereabouts. Just like everywhere else, we are down from the all-time peak of February 2022. The market does continue to strengthen. Our hot band for pricing for single-family homes around that 800 to 1.2 range. Transactionally, we're up about 16% from last year, and prices still coming back. We're down 2% from last year. Some things about Victoria. What makes Victoria Victoria? We are not a one-trick town. I don't know if you guys remember what happened to Port Alice years ago. Anyone from Port Alice? Milltown. Mill shuts down. What happens? Town dies, right? Victoria has a number of different facets. We are the provincial capital, obviously, so government. We're a government town. We're also the Pacific Navy base, so there's a lot of D&D, Department of National Defense. Obviously, people know Victoria about tourism, and it's funny because people think that's all Victoria is, but it's not. It plays a very important role. It's been interesting for us just watching what's happened in the world of tourism with COVID and everything, because we all dealt with that. It is also a university town. We not only have University of Victoria, but we also have Royal Roads University as well. So we have a lot of postgraduate education and the staff that comes with it as well. The one that hides that we don't see is the fact that Victoria is a technology hub. So there's a sizable tech hub in Greater Victoria. You don't see them because they don't have retail spaces or offices. A lot of people work from home. A lot of them moved to Victoria during COVID because they could have moved anywhere. They chose to move to Victoria. There's a lot of business that happens through that industry. And then finally, of course, we have a lifestyle and retirement. Of course, everyone talks about Victoria. They used to call it where it's the home of the newlywed and nearly dead, right? It is not anymore, because what happened with COVID is a lot of people cashed out of their homes in Vancouver, Toronto specifically. They had mortgages on their properties, cashed out, moved anywhere they wanted to in Canada, came to Victoria, often mortgage free now because the price differential. And we have a younger population now. In fact, we served a lot of people who were Victorians that moved away for their career, moved to Vancouver, got into finance or whatever. They had always planned to return to Victoria, but COVID actually just prompted it to happen sooner. Now, there's some other pressures that happen as a result of that. Schools, bursting at the seams. We have new schools being built. Again, transportation, of course, finding a GP, a doctor. We're dealing with these things in all of the markets anyways. But that's what's happening in Victoria. So for us, we have all of these features that make Victoria a town of attraction. And something that we often wonder about is, how could Victoria not become attractive anymore? How could the market suffer? And we think about, maybe 3 or 4 of these things would have to go away. Just like that Milltown closing, right? Government's not going to go away. Military's not going to go away. Tourism's not going to go away, right? Technology, maybe, I don't know, right? The retirement side of things, we are seeing it's a little harder now because people coming from Alberta, we had a lot of Calgary, of course, come to retirement. The price differential is significant because we're double Calgary's average prices. We always have been. It's always kind of fun. You got Calgarians in the room here? Yeah. It's always interesting. We serve Calgary clients who want to move to Victoria, and they usually start the conversation by saying, we want the same house we have now, but we want it for half the price. To which we have to say, well, did you know that we're twice the price of Calgary? Yeah. Anyways, so these are the fundamentals that make Victoria what it is. There was a report from the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance a couple of years back. Between 2014 and 2021 on the island, by the way, this is not just Victoria, more than 89,000 people moved to the island. Housing stock only increased by 28,000 units. We are facing a housing shortage, and some of it's geographics, which I'm going to explain to you in a couple minutes. Some of it too is demographics, age demographics. Speaking of population, here's a really interesting tool I was playing with a couple of weeks ago. You guys know on StatsCan, you can actually pick anywhere and it will give you projections of population in the future. It also breaks down male and female, a couple of other things as well. Just for fun, like I said, Victoria presently 420,000 population. I plugged in there 2030 because that's only around the corner, really. 5 years, that's a mortgage term, right? We're looking at an increase from 420 to almost 500,000. Wow. Let's play a little more. So 10 years from now, 526. And then 2040, 564,000. It makes us wonder, where are we going to put these people? Where are we going to put these people, right? Also, too, there was a report a while ago from the Capital Regional District. This is pre-COVID, by the way, so numbers will have changed. It's a projection about employment. And what they do is you can kind of see on the chart there from the baseline of 2019, using 100 people in accommodation and food services, agriculture, et cetera, just guesstimating how many people will be on those jobs in 2028 and 2038. So you can see there's growth along the entire. The reason why, by the way, there's a separation, there's 2 pages. I had to get it on the screen here, right? But some of the industries, and it's not just tourism. There's a lot of other industries that drive Victoria as well, too. We talked about geographics. So here's a photo of, I use this one here. It happens to be property assessments because I thought you might be interested to see what the assessed values of properties in all 13 municipalities of Victoria are. You can see the colored area. That's the Capital Regional District. People often think about, well, as I said, there's going to be 526,000 people in 2040. Where are we going to put them? As I said, here's another map. This is just a geographic map. And I just want to show you. So we are surrounded by water and we are fully built up. And some people say, well, how about these areas here? Well, this is the Highlands. These are acreages. There's a lot of agricultural land as well, too. And then this area over here, which has not been developed. And there's really no plans to do so presently. So the thing about Victoria is we are geographically constrained. We've got water on 3 sides. We've got the Malahat on the north. So going from 420,000 to 526,000, there's going to be a lot more need for housing. And as with any other place, and of course, the provincial government is working on this right now as well too, we need to find places to put them. And as long as people still come to Victoria for those 6 reasons that I mentioned to you before, we're going to have a lot of pressure. And one of the things that I have found in the last 33 years of doing this is I've noticed that even as other markets like Toronto or Vancouver they suffer, they have bigger downswings and upswings than Victoria does. We still have them. I mean, I mentioned to you a moment ago, prices are down. It doesn't go up all the time, but they seem to last shorter periods, right? And again, it has to do with the growth of Victoria and the fact that people want to come, right? I want to give you some investment samples. These are just one-offs, so we're not talking about the investment projects that Integrated-Equities can help you out with, but just to give you some examples here, right? Here is a property on Dallas Road. If anyone here knows Fairfield, this would be like, I guess like Kitsilano, right? So look at this house here. It's the square one right there. And there's the arrow, there's where it's located. So it is right across the street from Clover Point. It's on the water. It's not technically waterfront because, of course, there's a road that's there. This here is a multi-unit. So it has 2 one-bedroom units, a 2-bedroom unit, and also it's presently an owner's 3-bedroom, 2-level unit as well, too. But you can see from the photo of the solarium there, amazing views, right? The price there is 2.45. From an investment standpoint, this one here, it brings in about $86,000 worth of net income. So it's a 3% cap rate, right? That's kind of what Victoria is. The issue with Victoria is the cost of acquisition relative to the rents. They are not as attractive as I will just put it out there. From an investment standpoint, it's not as attractive. But why do people do it? It's because it's Victoria, right? We have found over the years, especially in the Fairfield neighborhood here, we get a lot of investors from Vancouver here who have been priced out of Kitsilano. And they want that sort of character home, and they want something in a prime neighborhood, and they want something that they're going to be able to drive by. So coming to Victoria, not a bad thing. Having a look at your investment property, because we also talk about, and I can't wait to hear about Calgary and all this as we move along today, some great numbers in Calgary. Not as attractive in Victoria, but you get the benefit of being able to drive by and check out your property, right? This will take a fair amount. It is not good. The numbers do not work with 20 or 25% down. This is going to need probably closer to 35% down payment for the numbers to work, which again is a little more common in Victoria. Let's look at something a little more, a little more garden variety. This is a house in the Hillside area on Graham Street. Again, typical character house, 3 2-bedroom units. This one here is, by the way, these are all available for sale right now. This one is $1.1 million. Its net revenue is about $60,000. So it'll give about a 5% cap rate here. This neighborhood here would be, I don't know, maybe Mount Pleasant kind of, right? Again, solid rental neighborhood. We haven't even talked about vacancy rates in Victoria. It is non-existent, right? Very difficult to find rentals, especially good rentals. We have a lot of purpose-built rentals that are being built, which is great. That is a whole different market segment as well too. And there's a lot that are taking some time to be completed as well. This one here could work. Talk to your mortgage person, with the 20% down, 25% down, numbers can be okay. Now, this is common. Of course, we can find these anytime, anywhere in Greater Victoria. Downtown condos, right? This one here is in a building called Legato, 2-bed, 2-bath, 875 square feet. These are only about 6 years old. 765. It'll generate around 28,000 net. So a cap rate there, about 4%. Same thing though, you're going to need a little more, probably closer to 40% down to make the numbers work there, right? Now, I want to talk about seniors in Victoria, because remember how I said newlywed, nearly dead? Everyone thinks about Victoria being a seniors community. Seniors need a place to live as well too. And you're all familiar with these fantastic seniors retirement communities. Seniors are now paying 12, 14, 18, $20,000 a month to live in these fantastic residential communities. We have clients that move into them all the time. It's like living on a cruise ship, you know, amenities, home, they have theaters in them. They have, one of them has a bar and a pub. Like it's so much fun. And by the way, some of these don't even have age requirements. So we could move in, right? But people are spending $15,000, $20,000 a year on rental. On the other end, of course, there's those who are looking for supported housing in the region. There needs to be something in between. So what I want to bring up here, I did this report back in August for seniors housing developments. And I found a couple of interesting things that I want to share with you guys. There are in Victoria a number of strata seniors buildings. And I know about them because I marketed them when they were new back in 1993, 1994. And the idea was to offer strata ownership to seniors. And there's a common area. They're provided a dinner every night, 24-hour staffing, not nursing, right? This is not higher care, but it is private individual use. These are interesting because they have not increased in value as traditional condos or other properties have. And they haven't because it's a very specialized product. You have to be 55 and over, and all of the occupants must partake in meals, housekeeping, 24-hour staffing, and all those things. But they are rentable, and they are also liquid. So I want to give you an example of this here. This is Rosebank Gardens. I sold this when it was new, 41 strata unit condos and 15 townhouses right by the university, good location. Typical 1990s construction, as you can see there, right? These rent for around $4,000 a month. So thinking from the mindset of the tenant. Now, part of that goes towards the service fees, because they need to pay for the 24-hour staffing and the meal and the housekeeping and all that. So $2,100 plus taxes, the net there for the landlord or the property owner, around $1,750. And again, looking back at the acquisition cost on a 369, you can't buy condos for $300,000 or $400,000 nowadays. And these are somewhat common, and they're also somewhat liquid. Now, I will say the risk here is if there is a vacancy in your investment unit, you are still paying that $2,000 a month. That does not go away, right? And the reason why I wanted to bring this up today for you particularly is I am aware of a couple of buildings in the South Island which are held presently, and there are buildings like this that have 18, 20, 26 individually owned strata units. So we'll talk to Taylor and Austin about opportunities there because it's a very interesting investment opportunity, right? So aside from that, that was just my quick little overview in 18 minutes or less. Victoria, Greater Victoria. If you guys are ever over in Victoria and you like, you know, just tips, if you want to know great places to go and great places to eat, reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you. By the way, this is my QR code if you want to snap a photo there. Great